Hi, welcome back. This is the garage clip for Fresh Breath 1. We're going to be focusing on one of the exercises in this program called the knee stretch. We're going to break it down a little bit and talk about how to utilize the GTS and what to look for when you're performing this exercise. I know it's new to you, so let's take a look at it. Here's Carol Stedman. She's going to be helping me out today. So you ready?
Ready.
Okay. The first thing with this exercise is that the toe bar height's important. So Carol, I'm going to have you kneel on the glide board about 1/3 from the bottom. Now when someone begins this exercise, the soles of the feet can face up or your toes can tuck under. It's okay in Pilates, by the way, if they wear tennis shoes, especially if you're in a club setting. That's one of the questions I get asked all the time. Are we allowed to wear these or do we go barefoot? That's your choice. Bare feet, more proprioception. However, when you're wearing shoes, you get a little bit more grip. Okay, that was a tangent, now coming back. All right, so here's the toe bar. One of the things I look for when we start this exercise is the toe bar height. We first start round back, right? So what we do is we tuck the tailbone under and she rounds the spine as much as possible. If someone is having trouble getting that up and over sensation, notice what happens if I increase that toe bar height. Ready? I'm gonna bring this up on you. She's gonna round. All of a sudden it may become more challenging for them because they're up higher. So all right, maybe what we need to do then is lower the toe bar height. Quick adjustment there, hands can go back on the toe bar, and then she can round through the back, and then it's round back. On the other flip side of things, we go into flat back. So she articulates out the spine, beautiful, and she kind of sends her rear end back a little bit. So now you're gonna be more into that 4-point kneeling position where you're here, your ribs are engaged. Now maybe this position might be easier for some, and maybe if they're having trouble in their low back or anything like that, you might find increasing the toe bar height might be helpful. So just make a note of that when you're first teaching. Toe bar height's important. The next thing to look at is, again, toe bar. What are the arms doing? The tendency here, of course Carol's demonstrating beautifully, but the tendency here is to lock out those elbows and have a slight bend and go more into a push-up position. Do you mind showing that? Like when they're bending like this, perfect. And that's what they tend to do is they think, oh, we're going into push-ups and then we're gonna push up and down as we do this exercise. Not what we're doing. So a couple things I cue. If they're in their shoulders a lot, we have a nice wide toe bar, so go wide with the arms. That gives them a better base of support. Another cue I'll use quite a bit, and it was used for me when I was going through my training, was to turn the elbow creases to face forward. That turns on, for some people, that latissimus. The other thing I watch, okay, is now the wrists. If she's here, maybe that's not a great position for the wrists. Eventually, we want to get the arms just like this, in that nice straight position. It's one of the most challenging aspects with Pilates when we start to go into planks, is to learn how to trust your body that your wrist can be here and you distribute the force then to your shoulder blade. The thumb, traditionally for me, I was always taught the thumb over the toe bar. It took a while for me to get that. So in the beginning, let the people do this and then work to maybe trying to get the thumb over. And then that helps put a little bit more pressure through the heel of the hand, which translates up, and then boom, they're more into their lats and stabilizing through that shoulder girdle. All right, so now we discussed the toe bar height, knowing that in relationship to how that might help flex. You discussed where the arms may be on the toe bar. Are they wide? Are they narrow? So Carol, just find the position that works for you. Perfect. Now I'm going to move to another element of the GTS. That is the glide board. Now if you're on the glide board, there's a couple things to take consideration of, I should say. If I have Carol bring her knees all the way in, now she can really maybe crouch up and round the back, but note the hip and knee flexion here, okay? If I ask her what the exercise is to keep this tuck position and press back with the legs, so she's gonna extend her hips and press back, she might lose a little bit of this position in the upper body. And then keep this, now just draw the knees in. I'm gonna hold your pelvis still. Now press out. So again, it's just a hip movement. She's gonna bring the knees in. You're doing amazing in pressing out. This might be helpful for someone when they're learning because that glide board staying open may allow them to really feel that like tucking under sensation. However, it may be more challenging because I may say bring that glide board all the way to the bottom and then press out. and that may be more range of motion. So slowly come all the way in. You must kind of consider, where am I putting this person on the glide board? If it's too far in, it may be too much range of motion for them to control. However, if you put them too far out, so if I bring your knees back some, and I have you go into a rounded position, her hips are more extended now. So I tell her to push back, she has a very little range of motion before that spine starts to move. So you want to tell them to be somewhere about 1/3 from the bottom, and you want to play around with, okay, where do their knees need to be? Where are they going to feel successful in the movement pattern? Okay, if they're moving a little bit in their hips and then go into the low back, and you can allow them to gradually feel that and then get out of it, that's okay. But you want to get them in a position, no matter what, of success. So for the flat back, just to touch upon that, because we've been focusing so much on the rounded one, I want to tell you with this one, you really want to think about the shoulders dropping away from the ears. You're still maintaining that nice neutral spine. I personally felt like this was easier for me to maintain because the cue I gave myself was to almost feel like I maintain an arch in my back as I press back. And so you're still just isolating that hip joint, and then you're coming back in. When you teach, remember to always ask permission to touch, and I know Pilates and yoga are really well known for the touchy aspect, but it is super helpful to come in and just kind of hold their hips here and give them that cue that this is where you're feeling it. The next thing you want to bring them to is that awareness of what's going on in my legs. Why is this called a knee stretch? I know my abs are doing the exercise. It's called a knee stretch because eventually, she doesn't know that she's going here, so I may have to demonstrate this one, is that you have them come from here to a hovering position. And flat back's where I like to go first to teach, and then you press out and come back in. Note right here, bam, that's really hard for me to control, so maybe I might teach this exercise with the toe bar higher, and then it's easier for my upper body to learn it. So that's eventually where you're going with knee stretches. I'm sure you'll see this exercise later on in our series as we develop more gravity Pilates programs. So I really hope that these little helpful tips and breaking down the knee stretches helps you learn the exercise yourself and helps you with your participants when you're teaching class. Thanks.